Vivekananda, an author, academician, and a public intellectual. We all are inviting you on this unique program, that designated as Education Pe Charcha. And this is the program that we are conducting from the platform of VidyaDaan. As the very name signifies or connotes, it is a platform for for imparting the online education on different on different topics, or on different issues, on different subjects, across India. So today, my dear viewers, in fact, as you all know, that we keep on inviting all, the top class achievers from myriad field of specialization. And as we already did, on previous occasions, we invited all top class stalwarts to grace and bless our Education Pe Charcha, as we had Honorable Brigadier, Dr. Sri B.K. Khanna Sahab, in our very last program. We already had invited Honorable Chief Election Commissioner of India, the greatest Chief Election Commissioner of this country, Sri V.S. Sampath Sir. We already had invited the global academician, Dr. Sri Deepak Jain Sir, one of the topmost IAS officers of India, that is, the former Chief Secretary of Gujarat, Sri Jain Singh Sir, and all the different stalwarts from myriad field of specialization. Today, my dear viewers, in course of the continuation of Education Pe Charcha, we have invited a philosopher entrepreneur. Mind you, when I emphasize on these two terms, philosopher and entrepreneur, both don't appear to be, mutually inclusive, in as much as both apparently look apart from each other. So this is what makes today's topic very much engrossing, as well as extremely captivating, because we'll be watching a man with a sort of vision that has transformed him from a philosopher into a very successful entrepreneur. This is what, in fact, we are going to understand today, and in course of our discussion about the entrepreneurial journey of a philosopher. And this is today our honored guest is Dr. Sri L.C. Sharma Sir, a very dynamic entrepreneur. One thing I would like to tell you, my dear viewers, that why I evince so much interest, in terms of showcasing this philosopher entrepreneur, it is because of my stay in Simla for more than a fortnight, where I came across this dynamic young entrepreneur. And it was absolutely some sort of, you can say, an enigma for me, some sort of an amazing experience for me to see the manifestation of what you can call a consummate entrepreneur from that of a philosophical background. And that itself makes today's discussion absolutely, very brilliant, itself a dynamic, and of course, a very engrossing one. And one most important thing which I felt that I should say before we will have some sort of insight into his holistic persona is the fact that this young entrepreneur is full, is brimming with a lot of confidence. And dear viewers, I would like to tell you something before we just go. We will have an insight into the holistic persona of the brilliant entrepreneur. He has an unshakable confidence, which is absolutely unparalleled. Very few examples that that especially in my case I came across, where I have seen a man who is nothing but an epitome of confidence. And here I would like to quote an example, and I'm sure all of you would be endorsing and subscribing to this very example, which I'm just going to produce before all of you. We all know a film star, Mr. Shah Rukh Khan. In fact, Shah Rukh Khan has neither the sort of handsomeness to personify, or you can say neither he has a great height. But on what I'll say, but on the contrary, today our guest is really an epitome of handsomeness, as we will behold him just a minute from now. But the example which I'm trying to tell you, that despite neither being very handsome nor being gifted with a good height, Saruk Khan ji had made indeed a mark in the Bollywood, as we all know that he is being the sort of sobriquet which has been conferred upon him, that is Bollywood, the Badshah Khan. This is the sobriquet, this is the honorific, this is the epitaph which has been conferred upon Mr. Saruk Khan. It is all because of the confidence of the man. I have seen his confidence. And here I would like to compare one of the scriptural character of Bali with that of Mr. Saruk Khan, because I have seen the way he presents himself, the way he attracts the audience through his mesmerizing dialogues and mesmerizing speeches. That is something really marvelous, something which is really incredible, so long as you watch him showing his extreme form of confidence. And here, as I was trying to tell you, give you an example, a striking resemblance of Mr. Saruk Khan with that of the famous scriptural character of Bali in Ramayana. The Bali used to possess that sort of characteristic that whoever would come in front of him, half of his strength would invariably and automatically would get transferred to that of Bali. The man who would come across or come nearer to him, would lose half of his strength, in as much as that strength would automatically get transferred to Bali. That is, I am trying to exemplify the overall confidence level of Saruk Khan in comparison with that of Bali, a scriptural characteristic. Likewise, I have seen in case of the young entrepreneur with who is our honored guest today, the man with that sort of confidence, an epitome of confidence, personification of confidence. And that is what, we are just going to have an insight. Before that, I would like to quote one of the observation or statements of that of Honorable Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, when he went to Darbhanga in course of the election in 2019. I'm talking about general elections of 2019. While addressing a mammoth gathering there, Prime Minister had said that Darbhanga is known for its scholarly excellence. It is known for showcasing its scholarly brilliance. But when it comes to entrepreneurship, Darbhanga so far is yet to showcase such galaxy of brilliant entrepreneurs as Gujarat or other parts of India do have the potential to do. So that is the overall importance of entrepreneurship in today's time. Because if you are an entrepreneur, you are in a position to provide jobs to the people. And there can be no better and greater satisfaction than providing jobs to the people. And let me tell you, today's honored guest, Dr. Sri L.C. Sharma ji, who is the Managing Director of Institute of Integrated Learning Development, IIRD, he has provided jobs to over 200 people across India. And most importantly, jobs are very, very stable. So that is, and most importantly, I would say, I was really fascinated by the sight of seeing young men and young women entering into the office. Really, it was, it was a captivating sight, a really some fascinating sort of spectacle to behold. And when I saw a young woman, coming rushing to the office, and just because at 9:30, some sort of remembrance or some by way of a recollection, a fact had dawned on me. I remember reading Swami Vivekananda's book, and wherein he had mentioned that when he went to America and when he beheld all sort of young women, in their primacy, in their vibrating youth with all sort of knowledge and erudition, he had wished, alas, India too would have showcased such grandeur, would have showcased such a sight of men and women working together. And in IIRD, I found this unique melange, this unique blend of youth of both the gender, coming together to work, and providing such a bubbling environment, which really gladdened my heart, and I felt like inviting Dr. Sri L.C. Sharma to grace and bless our today's program. My dear students, my dear viewers, I beg your pardon. Actually, we need to have some insight into Dr. L.C. Sharma's profile now. Managing Director, Institute of Integrated Rural Development, Editor-in-Chief, The Reeve Times. Dr. L.C. Sharma is a development practitioner with around 18 years of experience from program implementation at community level to policy advocacy on varied thematic areas, spreading in planning, institutional networking, etc. Blah, blah, blah. Started his career with an Italian collaborated company in Heidel project, where leading a 1,500 workers as 10 unionist, he could develop bit understanding on development vis-a-vis human instrumentation. Patriotism and spiritual inclination are his intrinsic attributes. Let me tell you one more thing, my viewers. It is very important to note that Dr. Sri L.C. Sharma is an ardent devotee of, one of the greatest yogis of India, Honorable, means His Holiness Paramahansa Yogananda ji. I too am a great ardent devotee of Paramahansa Yogananda. That is why that could also be one of the decisive factors which brought both of us together. All divine, scheme or divine play. Now you can see his, with the ambition to become more useful to the society, he kept on maintaining simplicity in thought, of course, speech and actions. He has involved a technological tool under IIRD's flagship program named Mission Reeve. Today, our discussion will center around this particular issue, that is Mission Reeve, that is ruralizing India, empowering villages, to identify holistic needs of individuals within the families, especially in villages, and extend customized facilitation support. So, and let me tell you now, before we switch over to the question and answer session, the Dr. Sri L.C. Sharma ji has had the opportunity of representing India in developmental, aspects and dimensions in the United Nations twice, once in Geneva and, next time in New York. So we have a unique person today, man who epitomizes or personifies versatility in himself. A man, we are going to see ourselves as to how adept he is in the leadership acumen and in his prophetic leadership vision. So we are welcoming Dr. Sri L.C. Sharma. Sir, you are most welcome today, to grace and bless our education pe charcha. Dr. Sri L.C. Sharma ji. Sir, you are most welcome.
Sir, many thanks. And you have told a lot about, you have described in multiple ways about me, and I don't know whether I really deserve whatever you have told. And I'm really privileged to be part of this prestigious platform where many stalwarts have enlightened us and the viewers in past. So I'm really privileged to be part of it. Thank you very much for this association in today's platform.
Thank you, sir. So nice of you to be conspicuous by your intellectual presence and by your spiritual presence, because you do have the spiritual vibration, which is the rarest of rare sight in today's time. So we are coming to the question answer session, sir, because you wanted to say something, sir?
No, please continue.
Okay. Sir, actually you are a philosopher. By your education, by your very outlook, by your very knowledge, you are a philosopher. So most importantly, you hail from philosophical background, and your evolution into that of an entrepreneur. So both might apparently appear to be uncommon for the common men and women. So how do you correlate your philosophical background with that of your entrepreneurial acumen? This is what our viewers would like to know. Sir, it is your take on this now, please.
Oh,
Dr. Sri L.C. Sharma ji.
Excellent. As you rightly told, I am a student of philosophy, and philosophy is nothing but it opens the doors of knowledge. It opens the doors of information. It gives the vision how to see the things in a unique way. So philosophy is or has been the basis of my life. I really find myself privileged enough that I am student of philosophy, because it opened many doors of information, knowledge, and rather seeing the things in a different perspective. And coming on applying the philosophical bent of mind into other practices, as I'm in a developmental domain, developmental practitioner. So I try to see the things with different eyes, and the philosophical background became instrumental in identifying various innovations and innovating various tools and techniques for human development, holistic human development. So I find the philosophical background as quite instrumental in streamlining and maintaining other walks of the life. So I see the combination of philosophy with the livelihood practices in that way. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, sir. And here I do recall my viewers. Here I would like to quote, will cite a very important instance in United States of America, where Swami Vivekananda had gone, and after the World Parliament, after his mesmerizing speech, a historic speech that was delivered on the occasion of the World Parliament of Religions, later many of the scientists would come to hear him speak, speak on philosophy, on the Oriental philosophy, on Upanishads and Vedas. One day, one of the journalists asked a scientist that, sir, I fail to understand the reason behind your coming and wasting so many hours in hearing a Swami speak. Well, why do you spend your precious time hearing the philosophical discourse of Oriental Swami? Prompt came the reply from the scientist. He said, no, as and when I hear this monk Vivekananda speak on Oriental philosophy Upanishads, I find there is an inextricable bonding or a linkage between that of the modern science and the philosophy, what Swami espouses, what Swami speaks about. So that is the Vedanta philosophy he was talking about. So that is the overall importance which our honored guest had said only in few lines, but those lines are adequately eloquent in terms of the exemplification of the incident which I just articulated. Sir, I'm coming to a very next important question. You conceptualized founding Subhas Bahini. And as far as I know, you are also an ardent admirer of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose patriotism for our beloved nation. The team of dedicated nationalist youth as development ambassador. How Netaji's vision impacted your developmental journey? Your take on this, sir, please.
See, the incident of 1997, when the nation was celebrating birth centenary of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, we happened to be a part of an event being organized by the government department. And that day we had a meeting with the close group of our friends. And because by birth, we can say that maybe by the blessings of the God, the patriotism lies from the beginning, and that event triggered and that strengthened that spirit of patriotism that day, and we decided to institutionalize these thoughts in shape of a society, and we formed a society called Hind Seva Sangathan. Hind Seva Sangathan was conceived with the very objective of serving the people, and the word Hind was taken from Azad Hind Fauj. And the idea behind was, if we could really work with the communities and could create a dedicated soldiers, youth as a dedicated soldier to serve the society, and with the discipline and with dedication and with the highest level of serving aptitude. So the thought was like this, because we see our society needs more people to extend serving hands rather than people identifying and pinpointing various situations. Whatever is needed to the society is to extend the serving hands towards them. So with this thought, a group of people, like-minded people, we conceived this in Seva Sangathan. And the thought of institutionalizing Subhash Vahini is still in pipeline. It has not yet materialized, and we are optimistic that a lot of similar kinds of the thoughts and initiatives are taking place on different platforms through the initiatives of us. So I'm sure in the time to come, Subhash Vaini in its the same name or in a different shape will be taking place, and will be able to create a dedicated force of the youth who will be ready to serve the people, ready to serve the communities in need. That is an idea, and it is yet to take shape. But yes, the exercises are on, and hopefully we'll be able to do it very soon, because we have reached very far in this direction. Over to you, please.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot. And viewers, I do recall what Honorable Dr. Sri Sharma sir was just telling. I recall it was, of course, the centenary celebration. And at that point in time, Mr. Devi Gowda was India's Prime Minister, and Sri Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji was the opposition leader. I recall one of the observations of Mr. Vajpayee, during his speech while I was in Kolkata. I remember Mr. Vajpayee said that अटल जी अश्वस्थामा जैसे ही चीर स्मरणीय रहेंगे, और जो उनको सम्मान मिलना चाहिए था, हिंदुस्तान ने उनको ये सम्मान नहीं दिया. In English, translating Mr. Vajpayee's version into English, he said, just like Ashwasthama, he will remain, immortal. But whatever he deserved from the nation somehow failed to do justice to the greatest patriot of this country. As what sir says, absolutely, Mr. Vajpayee had given the same statement in the direction.
Yeah, I would like to add here, Netaji has done a lot while on exile. Whatever he had contributed by visiting different countries, establishing linkages with multiple nations, and seeking their support in creating an army of people outside India under such very adverse circumstances. This is an exceptional contribution of Netaji towards the country. And we people sitting under the cozy shadow of independence today are not able to deliver to that extent. We need to create that level of patriotism, that passion towards the country, that level of serving aptitude towards the country, as Netaji, along with many of his people of the brigade, had done. So that was a great inspiration for us, that if Netaji, like visionary person, can create such revolution in outside India under adverse circumstances, why we people sitting under the cozy shadow of independence should not do? That was again a great inspiration of Netaji, and we salute to that great spirit, and we wish if we really could convert this India as it was dreamed by Netaji. Thank you. Over to you, please.
Sir, such a great statement. I recall when you said that a great contribution from outside with such a patriotical zeal and fervor, which had no parallel in the country. I recall, and here it becomes very apt for me to express my anguish at an attitude of the Communist Party of this country, which used to call Netaji as bourgeois. Viewers, I would like to emphasize on this particular term, bourgeois. That was the term which Communist Party of India addressed Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. And for so many decades together. And finally, the patriarch of the Communist Party, Jyoti Basu, late Jyoti Basu, he only sought public apology when he said that we committed a mistake by calling Netaji as a bourgeois. As bourgeois is really a pejorative term, a derogatory reference for someone as a capitalist agent. The man whose dedication has no parallel even till today was dubbed outright as a bourgeois by the Communist Party of India. What could be a greater shame, a Himalayan shame, than making such a pejorative, derogatory reference against India's greatest freedom fighter? Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot for your great observation. Sir, now I'm coming to a very important question. What is this philosophy of creating wealth out of nothing? Because this is something very amazing. Creating wealth out of nothing. How you managed to do it? Though it is understood you're a philosopher and you had no capital investment because you don't come from a rich family, means from a business family. So it was absolutely unconventional for you to take a leap into something uncertain, some uncertain field. But nevertheless, you managed to create wealth out of nothing, and that today all the business empire or sort of the infrastructure that has come in place already speaks volume about your overall ability to create wealth almost from in vacuum. Your say on this, sir?
Oh, thank you. Creating wealth out of nothing. In fact, whatever we see today outside is the manifestation of our thoughts. And once upon a time, God might have thought to create this universe, and this universe appeared. Similarly, we as human beings are in the image of the God. And if he can create this entire universe, we do also possess those attributes which can be helpful to create at least a smaller universe for ourselves. So it means if God can create, it means we being in his image can also create to some extent. And hence, to create the wealth, we need to know to create the thoughts. And we need to know how to nurture those thoughts and converting them into action. So, very important here is creating the right thoughts is the one. We normally say संस्कार से सृष्टि बनती है, विचारों से सृष्टि बनती है. So, creating right thoughts is the biggest part, and those thoughts need to be contributed to the whole. If our thoughts are conducive and contributory to the whole, then our thoughts are acknowledged by the nature. And then the second part comes of nurturing of those thoughts. So thoughts, the right thoughts can be nurtured by the positivity and the consistency. We sometimes may come across various adverse circumstances. Even during that time, we need to maintain the level of positivity to the highest level. And third is relevant actions. No thought can create anything until those thoughts are converted into the actions. So right actions are very important. We need to put into, and finally, we need to keep on trying until last. As Swami Vivekananda had also once said, आप काम करते जाओ तब तक करते रहो जब तक कि लक्ष्य हासिल ना हो. It is the same way the tireless efforts are to be done with the meaningful moderation and modification wherever needed. We need to be go along with the pace of time. We need to understand the dynamics of this changing society, and similarly, the thoughts need to be aligned with the changing environment without losing the originality of those thoughts. And thoughts once created and then nurtured with the positivity, converted them into the action, and those actions get manifested, and that manifestation becomes instrumental of creating the wealth. If the thoughts are to create the wealth, definitely wealth will get converted, because our thoughts travel in the universe and they come back to us with multiplication of the strengths. It depends upon to what extent did we nurture those thoughts. So this entire universe is the creation of idea only. We need to create the idea, and idea can create anything. It can be the wealth and it can be other things as well. So this is the basic thoughts, fundamental thoughts. I call it like Brahmandiya Siddhant hai, principles of the universe, that thought manifests. So this is the theory which we applied while conceiving this Institute for Integrated Rural Development, IIRD. It was started from zero. It was purely zero investment based enterprise. We used to have one table and one chair. Our chairman used to come sometimes to the office, a single room office in Shimla once, long back. And he used to sit on the chair. I used to have gossip with him while standing because it was only one chair and one the table. And the journey started. And thereafter, a lot of proceedings went on. That story can be shared. I think it's a lengthy one, can be shared sometimes. Ultimately, we could have a respectable place to sit and work today. We don't claim that it is a lot of things have been done and it's something very great. No, yes, but it is something which can lead us to the greater efforts, which can lead us to taking a greater initiatives. And this creation is out of nothing. It is out of zero only. That's a simple take on on this piece. Over to you. Thank you.
Sir, actually, our viewers would like to know that IIRD, Integrated Institute of Rural Development, which you started in the year 2004. So the institute is conducting so many different training programs across India. You have got branches across India. So what is the modus operandi? What sort of programs the institute conducts, and how does it benefit the beneficiaries? I mean to say the people who are being imparted the training, and what is the how many trainers are being employed, how trainers do facilitate that sort of imparting of knowledge. So could you please throw some light on it, sir, for our viewers understanding, please?
True. Thank you. So IIRD was institutionalized in 2004. That time it was as a technical part of the society in Seva Singleton. And we started promoting the name of IIRD across industry with the various government departments and others. And gradually this name became prominent one. And later in 2010, we incorporated IIRD as a Section 25 company, non-profit making company. And the journey started. And our basic focus is on 3-4 thematic areas. Like one is research and studies, second is training and capacity building, then project planning, designing and implementing, monitoring and evaluation. For last 15-16 years, we have worked almost on all kinds of the developmental areas. Like we have been working in education, health, agriculture, livelihood, microfinance, then environment, climate change, many more things, water, sanitation, lot of things. We have been working across country, and today our presence is in 23 states of the country where footprints are, and continuously working with the ministries, various ministries of government of India, then state governments, different state governments, then public sector undertakings and corporates as well. And few initiatives have been taken up by the IIRD directly with the communities also. And so far, more than 150,000 people have been trained by the organization under various training programs, institutional as well as field-based training programs. And majority of these trainees belong to Himachal Pradesh, and we have been working and training people outside also. Apart from the training, we are now into implementing voluminous projects also, technical projects also. For example, we are presently constructing one multi-purpose sports complex in Karnataka and one indoor stadium we are near to finish in Odisha. So these are the bigger projects where the entire concept was designed by us, the architectural support was from our team, the engineering support was from our team, and everything was there. So we are glad that we have a good exposure of working in multiple areas and working for multiple communities, and many lakhs of people have got positively impacted through the interventions of IIRD so far. So the modus operandi, as you asked, is we do have our head office in Shimla. All decision making process takes place in Shimla, and we do have our branches in different states as well. And wherever we get new opportunities, We hire people. We try to hire people from the local communities, and some people from Shimla office, head office, are also deputed to ensure that the quality and timeline are maintained, because the basic what we say strength of IIRD is today that we deliver projects within the time, and the quality of our delivery is optimum. So we get appreciation from different agencies, our clients, and sometimes we get simply call from the clients that, yeah, this is something which they want to do, and if they have some concerns how to do that, so they bank upon us. We share our thoughts and we come up with the strategic thoughts, and we create an action plan for them. So with this, the level of competence in conceiving the projects, in designing the projects, and implementing the projects has been a strength of IIRD. And we are privileged that many government agencies simply call us and discuss the project with us. And we are glad that this kind of the faith and reputation we could create in the agency, and the contribution of the team of the IIRD to reach to this level is remarkable. And through this platform also, I congratulate the team for having reached to the stage where people bank upon us for whatever they need. And we are glad to extend our services to the best satisfaction of the agencies. Please, over to you.
Thank you, sir. And actually, because even our viewers would like to know, and even there is some sort of curiosity in me as well, that when somebody is studying philosophy, he goes at a very different level. His thought process is more or less as it is the perception of the common mass, that they are, somehow not within this particular world, the world of materialism and all that, because they are after the spirituality. So, it looks, I wouldn't say it bizarre, but nevertheless something which is not fitting into the scheme of description, that being a philosopher and choosing entrepreneurship path. So how did this idea strike you? And, so that you made a switch over from that of being a philosopher, means that of, pursuing the career of philosophy, into that of being graduating into that of an entrepreneur. So your take on this, sir?
Thank you. So we see philosophy first as an education. And what is education? Vidya ya Brahma Gati Pradaya. Sa Vidya ya Vimukti. विद्या वो है जो मुक्ति प्रदान करती है. तो अगर हम इस दिशा से देखते हैं, and philosophy is nothing but it gives different version of vision. If the entire world is going in a single direction, a person with philosophical bent of mind would definitely like to explore why only this direction is being followed by the people, by the majority. And he definitely would like to explore why not the other side. That is the only difference in a common man and the person with the philosophical bent of mind. He is exploratory. That is one important attribute of a person with philosophical bent of mind. So, philosophy as an education has to be utilized in two ways. One is for ourselves. Swahitaya, for ourselves. When we talk स्वहिताय, अपने हित के लिए, मतलब अपने आत्मा के उद्धार के लिए, अपने आत्मा के उद्धार के लिए इसका इस्तेमाल होना चाहिए, इज वन. और दूसरा, अपनी आत्मा का उद्धार तब तक नहीं हो सकता है जब तक आपके पड़ोस में, आपके संपर्क में जो लोग हैं उनका भी उद्धार ना हो. कलेक्टिव प्रोग्रेस has to be there. Otherwise, that becomes a crude selfishness if we only think of ourselves. So when we try to help ourselves through this evolution process, so it means we are constrained, we are bound to take care of the people around us. अगर वो ऊपर उठेंगे तभी हम भी ऊपर उठेंगे. तो अपने खुद के उत्थान के लिए आपको समाज का उत्थान लेना करना बहुत जरूरी है। तो समाज के उत्थान के लिए हाउ कैन वी ट्राई टू अपलिफ्ट द सोसाइटी? द फर्स्ट एंड फॉरमोस्ट टास्क इज how people give people are given the talent, the capacity, the skills to earn their livelihood. Everything becomes null and void in the absence of livelihood. सबसे पहले व्यक्ति को जीवन जीने के लिए जो जरूरी है वो मिलना चाहिए, और उसके बाद दुनिया की तमाम बातें समझ में आती है। तो इसी बात को ध्यान में रखते हुए फिलॉसफी को हम उसी दिशा में देख रहे हैं जिस दिशा में स्वहिताय फिलॉसफी को होना है। स्वहिताय फिलॉसफी को होना है, मुझे आगे बढ़ना है, आत्म उन्नति करनी, आत्मा की उन्नति करनी है। आत्मा की उन्नति के लिए मुझे जो आत्माएं सराउंडिंग में हैं, समाज में रह रही हैं, उनकी उन्नति के लिए भी सोचना बहुत जरूरी है, अन्यथा स्वयं अकेले की उन्नति नहीं हो सकती। सो इट इज इम्पॉर्टेंट टू वर्क फॉर दोज पीपल ऑल्सो, और उनके लिए लाइवलीहुड के लिए काम करना, ताकि वो एक ऐसे लेवल तक आ सके जहां पे वो एवोल्यूशन को सोच सके, लिबर्टी को सोच सके, एंड दे शुड बी एबल टू थिंक एंड प्रायोरिटाइज द समम bonum ऑफ दिस लाइफ, ऑफ दिस ह्यूमन लाइफ, दैट इज टू लिबरेट फ्रॉम द लिमिटेशंस ऑफ दिस बॉडीली केज। तो उसके लिए फिलॉसफी को जीवन के दर्शन के साथ देखते हुए, अपने आत्मोन्नथान को देखते हुए, तो समाजोत्थान के साथ कनेक्ट करने की कोशिश की जा रही है। और समाज के उत्थान के लिए विथ दिस फिलोसॉफिकल बेल्ट ऑफ माइंड वी कुड क्रिएट अ फ्यू थॉट्स, यूनिक एक्शन प्लान्स एज वेल, जिन पर चर्चा होगी, वेदर वी टॉक ऑफ मिशनरी और वी टॉक ऑफ लोक नीति। दीज आर द अगेन फिलोसॉफिकल थॉट्स जो इसी का ही परिणाम है। तो मैं फिलॉसफी को ये इसी एंगल से देखता हूँ। फिलॉसफी ने एक दिशा दी है कि जीवन के प्रति क्या सोच पैदा होनी चाहिए, कैसे अपने आप को लिबरेट हो जाएं इस जीवन की लिमिटेशन से, बॉडी की लिमिटेशन से, और उसी लिमिटेशंस को दूर करने के प्रयास में समाज के उत्थान का एक अंश है, जो अपरिहार्य अंश है, उस पे कार्य करने की कोशिश की जा रही है। तो मैं इन दोनों को जुड़ा हुआ देखता हूं और एक दूसरे के लिए सप्लीमेंट्री देखता हूं। प्लीज ओवर टू यू।
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot. Actually, here, Dr. Sri L.C. Sharma, sir, basically was emphasizing upon the transcendental truth. In Chandogya Upanishad, my dear viewers, there is a beautiful stanzas. Now, that is Astoma Shadgamaya, Tamsoma Jyotirgamaya, Mrityoma Amritas Gamaya. So, sir has been here emphasizing on these facts that from darkness, from untruth to the state of truth, from darkness unto light, and from mortality unto immortality. So even when we talk about the transcendental truth, the first and foremost, the criterion that is to be taken care of is to provide food, shelter, and that is health for human being, because that is a basic necessity. So long as these basic necessities are not adequately catered to, the higher philosophical and spiritual truth always remain beyond the perception or beyond the reach of common men and women. So this is what Dr. L.C. Sarmaji had so comprehensively, so meticulously thought about. And consequently, that IIRD, which is in its physical manifestation today, by way of a living testimony to his hard efforts, which took its tangible shape by way of conceptualization, about which he has been telling us, he has been sharing with us all in details. Now coming to the very important question about which he has already insinuated, or rather he has already alluded to it, that is Mission Reeve. That is a flagship program of IIRD under the stewardship and the prophetic vision of the man who is our honored guest today, Dr. Sri L.C. Sharma sir. I have seen him. My dear viewers, I would like to share with you his temperament. Such a cool and calm person. I have, even during the course of my stays with him, I never saw him getting agitated. Very cool and calm, and never gets agitated. That is the, what you can say, the attribute of an entrepreneur. Cool and calm mind every time, always. Even though somebody has committed a mistake, he never scolds or castigates. He, in fact, tries to explain him or her the mistakes he has made in a very cool and calm way. So, this is the beauty, or you can say one of the finest attributes of that of an entrepreneur, which he so poignantly epitomizes. That speaks a volume about his entrepreneurship. Next question to you, sir. What is the flagship program that named Mission Reef, about which you have been talking about? Ruralizing India, empowering villages. So I would like to ask you that has it got something to do with Mahatma Gandhi's vision of India residing in its 5 lakh villages? That is the soul of India residing in its 5 lakh villages. Your take on this, sir?
Yes, finally, yes, definitely. Majority of the people today live in rural areas, though in missionary we are trying to cover the entire population, those people living in the rural as well as in urban areas. The idea behind is we need two kind of the supports to the people. One is that we should have an environment where we could live happily, and second is we need to have a catalytic support which could help us to progress in the life. So this mission review is based on these two parameters. And talking about the first one, creating an enabling environment where we could live happily, is we are envisioning a village kind of the life, even for the people in cities. How this is possible? We need to have a place where there is a need to walk every day to some distance, and we have some constraints, rather habit of doing some physical work, and there is affinity amongst the people, the neighbors we are living around, and there is a simplicity and purity of thoughts in the minds of the people, and there is thinly distributed habitations. When we talk about these 4 5 things, it gives the picture of a village, so-called village, how village should be. So mission reef focuses on these two parameters. One is the planning of the villages and planning of the cities has to be in such a way that people would be needing to walk every day. Even if you need to buy a milk, you should walk 500 meters to buy a milk, because it will keep you happy, healthy. Walking is very important. And some physical action has to be taken. Otherwise, all toxic material will keep on getting stored inside us, and it will create multiple health hazards. And as people of the villages are supposed to be very having affinity amongst each other, they are very caring to each other, having respect with the simplicity. They participate in each other's I mean sukh and dukh जिसको हम कहते हैं, दोनों में they participate in all kinds of the situations. And then people are simple, they have the simplicity, this has to be there, and the thoughts are also pure, and then habitations are thinly distributed, not dense like the cities. This is the physical plan that has to be maintained for villages as well as for cities. And second part is providing catalytic support for progress of the people. See, this is one holistic approach to bring smiles on the faces of the people. How the smiles can be brought? We first need to understand the causes of the worries of the people, which prevent smiles on the faces of the people. The causes of the worries are to be identified. So this mission, under Mission Reef, we tried to identify the probable causes of various troubles of the people, and then come up with the customized solutions to meet out the objectives of the people and to overcome the worries of the people, those facilitation support needs to be made. So the idea was, if there is a technological based tool available, under this tool, what our team does, they approach to the families and they make need assessment of the families, and that need assessment is holistic based on the age, because age wise our needs vary. So the need assessment of the children, the need assessment of the adolescent, then the adults, then working, and then people, old age people as well. So different people, their needs are to be assessed in a different way. And then people might be having a needs as per the various occupations, the day-to-day life, like health, education, their business. If they are into agriculture, then agriculture, their social security, their banking. So these are a few areas where people are so much occupied from morning to evening. They are having a one or other kind of the trouble to solve. So these the troubles lag behind. They do not make the people move fast. They try to create obstacles in the progress of the people. And Mission Reef conceived in such a way that if those troubles could be identified, if those obstacles, those hurdles could be identified of an individual as well as a family as well, and if the customized solutions could be offered, that could be given to them for low cost, then people will become problemless. They will be able to focus on the progress of their life. They will be able to focus on achieving the higher objectives of their life rather than spending their more time into getting solutions for these smaller and simpler hurdles. So this technological tool was devised in such a way that our team, what trained people can visit and have interaction with the families, can they create a rapport with the families, they win the confidence of the family, they create the environment of friendship with the families, and families share their problems, if those problems are kept confidential, and the solutions are provided by the team within the fixed timeline and in a way which is already discussed and deliberated to the person concerned. So the idea was to help people overcoming their worries, their troubles of day-to-day life, and helping them in achieving better and bigger objectives of their life. So by doing this, it is envisaged, it is supposed that the smiles on the faces of the people will be there. And we have tried it, we have pilot tested it, and it proved well. And now we are in the process of launching this mission on the broader platform, where multiple people will be associated with this to serve people in a larger way. That is brief about the mission reef. And uh, if I speak in another way, India does have a population of around 130 to 140 billion people, and almost every person is in need of one or other kind of the support, whether it is the counseling, whether it is the facilitation support due to non-availability of the time, and it is the need because of non-availability of the skills required. Multiple reasons can be there, but people are in need of one or other kind of the support. If those supports could be extended, those people could be served with those services, so they will be happier. And we need more people to serve the people, and those people who are going to serve other people are going to have a employability opportunities across. That is brief about mission. Over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I would just like to know, because this is also one of the very one of the key features of the IIRD, or your key features of your leadership vision. about the concept of sustainable employment. So, because in the private sector today, even especially in the private sector, that job has become very unsustainable, because the today you may be in a job, you are in a job, but tomorrow you might lose it. So when you talk about sustainable employment, so it gives impetus on these very important aspects of the job security in the private sector. So IRD being a private sector, if it is talking about sustainable employment, so what is the underlying vision behind this particular concept? Please, your say on this, sir.
Fine. Let me link it to the mission reef again. Under mission reef, as long as people are living on this planet, they must be having the different kinds of the need. As long as people do have the need, they will be needing the service providers. As long as service providers are needed, there is a scope for employability to create service providers. And that is the way how we foresee the modus operandi is for a single gram panchayat having a population of around 2000 people. There is a scope of observing 10 persons, 10 persons per 2000 people. That is the calculation has been worked out. It means one person per 200 persons is needed to serve them in different way. How? In a village, one person can be trained to serve the communities in agriculture. Another person can be trained to serve the communities in health, another in education, third in banking and finance, fourth in social security, another in rural produce marketing, another in property and revenue related services, like this. So these service segments have been identified, and the likely needs of the families have been also enumerated, and the team needed to identify and map the needs of the families are to be deployed. They are to be trained and deployed to make need assessment in the villages, and those services are to be provided to the families for low cost. If, for example, I have to create a passport, creating a passport for me as an individual may be a difficult task if I am contacting some consultant, if no, I am not technically so sound that I can fill the application at my own. So I'll be approaching some consultant. So the consultant must be charging in a different way. If there is a volume of similar services, one person from Mission Reef will go and he will be able to serve those people for 1/4 or 1/5 value of the consultancy fee. That is how the low cost services can be provided to the people, and the volume of the services will be able to ensure the revenue generation from the communities, and that revenue generated by serving the communities will be sufficient enough to compensate the efforts of the team working there. In this way, if 10 persons are absorbed in a single gram panchayat, so the number of gram panchayat having a population of 2000 and around multiplied by 10 is the readily available employment scope, and that is sustainable. Why it is sustainable? Because people would be needing the services as long as they are alive, because the nature and the volume and the style of the services will vary, but services will be needed, that support will be needed. So as long as that support is needed, our people will be employable, and this employability will be forever, because this earth is having this population until it ends. So we'll keep on creating opportunities for newer people to join, and they will be able to serve the communities in the time to come. That is how the sustainability of this employment is envisaged under the visionary.
Fantastic, sir. It is a brilliant conceptualization, and the way you have explained, I think that it is also practically, absolutely relevant. So it is not at all a theoretical conceptualization, but something which is based on the ground, on the assessment of the ground reality. Of course, you have given a very precise the definition of sustainable employment. And the way you elaborated on it, it becomes obvious to our viewers that it is very much, it's well nigh possible, and it is absolutely pragmatic as well. Thank you for this great conceptualization, sir. And now we are coming to a very important question, that how do you visualize new era development philosophy, new era leadership? That is, very, very important for today's, for the modern, for the contemporary times, for the modern generation. So how do you envisage this, new era leadership? Your say on this?
Chief. So, new era leadership is basically the need of the hour. We have been seeing the direction of the country where we have been going. Not only the country, if we see as this human race, the global phenomena and the global happenings are really becoming very agitative, and it is high time to relook into our processes of governance, our processes of living on this earth. So if we talk about our country, India, so the direction of the country is the time has come where we need to ponder upon it, we need to think on it, whether this direction is rightly going to lead us to our higher level of the individuality or not. So this is the concern for everyone. First, we need to ensure that whether we are secure, where the survival is ensured. The safety and security is the first part. And how many people do feel that yes, we are purely and comfortably secure. We are safe in all respects. I think if we try to have this survey, so we are going to get very astonishing statistics on this, because safety and security has become a big question in the country, and we need to think on it. And if it is so, then the livelihood is the second part. After the survival, second is the livelihood. If we are survived, what are we going to eat? How are we going to live? How are we going to meet the basic needs of our life? Is the second basic concern. And third is the environment to progress. Whether do we have that conducing environment where we can progress individually to the higher level of our citizenship? That is the third big question. So when we try to have a holistic look on the scenario of the country today, so it is high time for the people to think and to act upon differently. The way the country is moving ahead, we need to change the direction. And to changing this direction, we cannot do much without changing cleaning the governance process, governance system, the political system of our country. Until that is refined, that is made meticulously vibrant, nothing much can be done. We say yatha raja tatha praja. So the situation of the citizens will depend upon the rulers, how the people sitting above, the policymakers and others are capable, having the intention and the level of purity and the style of governance. So keeping in view that if India needs to be saved and made dynamic, made a leader in this emerging scenario, international scenario. So we need to streamline the internal processes of our governance system, where every individual is productive. Every individual is contributing to the economy. That kind of the environment has to be built. And for this environment, the new era developmental philosophy is based on 4 or 5 parameters. First is creating new era leadership. People in the governance, those having a serving aptitude, those who are not polluted with the absurd political thoughts. The political infection has not to be there. Those people should be there in the governance, who means serving the people, who are based on the philosophy, governance philosophy of our Vedas, our Upanishads, Ramayana, Mahabharata, and Chanakya has given a great philosophy of ruling the country. He has outlined the duties of a Raja, what a king is supposed to do and what he is not supposed to do. So, based on those high level of virtues and the values for which India was known, those are to be revived, those are to be brought back and put it in the system, for which we need people to govern this country who are away from the political infections, those having the purity of the thoughts. They should have the vision, and they should have the serving aptitude. Those people should be there in the governance. That is one. And second, we need to have some governance strategies which are changed strategies. Today, when we talk about the voting system, a person who is vigilant enough, who understands the country and who understands his citizenship and the value of his citizenship, the value of his vote is also equivalent to that who does not understand even about the value of the vote he is giving to. So there is equivalence on both. This is needed to be rethought. And secondly, people who are in the governance are made to be accountable. We have been talking of the accountability since long, but we did not come up with a foolproof tool which could prove that yes, people in the governance are accountable. So the new era philosophy speaks about making accountable these people in governance, and their deliverables should be in the public domain. People should rate them to what extent they have been doing and to what extent they are supposed to do. The rating of the people in governance has to be done by the people. That is very important. This power should go in the hands of the people. And thirdly, there has not to be any discretion in anyone's hands. Everyone is governing based on the public money. So why discretion of one person, whosoever he or she may be, whatever the position one may enjoy? We cannot have nilam, we cannot have boli of the public money. Whatever based on your whims and fancies comes, that cannot be communicated to the people. We have seen in many last elections that those people who were trusted as the most important custodian of the country, they were just doing business with the voters by this nilami process. This has to be avoided. So for this, people within a gram panchayat or in a block, in a district, they should have the right to plan collectively. They should plan after the government is formed. Within first 3 months, the planning should come in the public portal. People should be able to add values there wherever needed. And finally, the plan should be closed based on the available funds and followed by the monthly action plan, and work should start. And based on the works being done by the implementers, people should be able to monitor it, and they should be able to evaluate the quality and the speed of implementation of those things. Then the governance will come in the hands of the people. Thirdly, important aspect of this new era leadership philosophy, developmental philosophy, is the use of technology. Presently, we have been facing big challenges of non-availability of real-time data. The countries working based on the estimates, gestures, opinions, and assumptions. So, new era developmental philosophy envisages to come up with a real-time data, even of micro-level information should be there. In a one click on the computer, we should be able to know whatever the situation or the ground situation is wherever. it is to be known. So with this data, we'll be able to address the basic concerns of the people. If it is said that 20% people today are sleeping without food, without dinner, so where are those 20% people? Do we have the listing of those people? Do we have the information there where the place they belong to? Who are those people? No one knows it. We have been talking on the data, but data does not have the relevant answer to explain. If we have to address that issue, we have to go to those people. How to go? Where are those? No one knows. So countries based on the assumptions, working on the assumptions. We have to come up with the real-time data so that even a single person's problems are addressed. Not even a single citizen should remain unheard, unattended, unasked. And that is possible. That is possible only if we have a real-time data. And this data has to be linked to the single identity card, citizenship card. We as a country do not have a single citizenship card in hand with us. If we have to prove that we are citizen of this country, we don't have any uniform card today. So this is a big concern. We need to come up with a citizenship card where this data is linked. This will help in addressing n number of the problems. This route is basically present process is you see the problems and start solving. Another day, another problem will come, the solution finding process will start. So if we come through this process, identifying the real situations, and then I think 80 to 90% problems will get zeroed down automatically. We don't need to even go for finding the solutions. It will automatically come. So this is another part of philosophy, and then is the accountability of the citizens. Because no country can progress until the discipline level and the patriotism level and the feeling of the nationalism is there in the citizens. That's very important. And we have a live example of Japan, but we keep on quoting this example. But when we will evolve as citizens like that of Japan's, that is yet to be seen. For this, citizens also need to be made accountable. And for which Citizens Welfare and Accountability Act has to be enacted in the country, which will ensure that it is the role of the government to reach to every citizens and to take care of well-being of the citizens. If government takes this responsibility, means not the present government is, they are much more behind this thought. If the new government comes up with thought, then they will expect the citizens to behave reasonably. That's very important. Citizens have also to behave reasonably. So this act has to be enacted in the country. It has to come into force. And with these 4 or 5 thoughts, this is new era developmental philosophy where the country can be really brought to that era, that level where it was known as Vishwaguru. We keep on talking that India Vishwaguru banega, but do we have the real plan to make the Vishwaguru, this country? Without plan, we keep on saying that nothing will happen. This is the new developmental era. Philosophy will articulate the complete mechanism, how this India can be brought to that level which Hindustan was known for, Bharatvarsh was known for. So that is brief take from my side on this, please. Over to you.
Thank you, sir. It has been indeed, a meticulous espousal or articulation of exactly, the precise form of Lokaniti, because nation, in fact, will move away from Rajniti to Lokaniti. Because, today, as what on our honored guest today, Dr. Sri L.C. Sarmaji has been trying to advocate so ardently about, the sort of the overall systemic fault which has assumed such a humongous proportion that it needs a complete overhaul. Few individuals, that is the oligarchs, have taken over the country. The power has to pass from those oligarchs, into that of 1.30 billion people, because it is for them such an elaborate piece of constitution was made. But today, the constitution appears to have been put into abeyance, appears to have been hijacked by few individuals who are ruling the roost, and the rest of the entire citizens have become the cheerleaders. This is where the governance has to be given a due consideration. And this is what Dr. Sharma, Dr. Sri L.C. Sharma, the architect of Lok Niti vision, one of the architects of the Lok Niti vision, has been trying to emphasize on it. That is a complete overhaul of the system, so that the power should go to 1.30 billion of Indians. That is what exactly is the concept of new era leadership. That is what Dr. Sharma was trying to elucidate. Thank you, sir. Today, in fact, we have so many questions, but we do have the severe constraint of time. We could make the best capital out of the time, that you so benignly you gave us. We try to make it as much capital as we could have in the given constants of time. So definitely we have been enlightened. Our viewers have been enlightened on new era leadership, on so many, the dynamic vision of an entrepreneur, because a philosopher was trying to share with all of us about his entrepreneurial journey, which was absolutely, captivating, so much engrossing, that indeed, the journey that he narrated kept all of us, engrossed. So much engrossed we were that we did not even notice that the time had gone. I remember one of the priceless poems of that of John Keats. That Keats says that one of the Londoner, the city dwellers, when he, after such a long stay in London, when he moves towards the countryside, he seeing the vast expanse of earth, or the sky. He runs here and there, and finally the day passes unnoticed, and an hour and a quarter has gone unnoticed. So much absorbed we were in listening with rapt attention of the enlightened and erudite views of the architect of Lok Niti vision, that itself was something astounding, mesmerizing as it was. If and with all certainty is going to be implemented, because it is the right time for the nation to bring in Lok Niti, replacing the so-called bogus Rajniti. Because as the architect of Cabinet Missile Plan, Sir Stafford Cripps, had defined politics as the means of getting money from the rich and vote from the poor, while promising to protect each other. That has engulfed our polity for all these decades. India needs to behold a new dawn, a new era, and that is the new era of leadership, which Dr. Sri Sharma, the architect of Lok Niti, has so elaborately envisaged and articulated to all our, all our viewers. Viewers, thank you so much, our honored guest, Dr. Sri Sharma sir, for illuminating our session. And before we call it a day, before we bid you goodbye, with a commitment to come back on another Saturday, I would like to make an announcement about our next guest, who is a senior IAS officer, Education Secretary of Bihar, Sri Sanjay Kumarji, will grace and bless us on our next Saturday's Education Pe Charcha, unfolding his vision on education of Bihar, and even on new education policy and applicable across India. So my dear viewers, that is for the next Saturday to get unfolded. But today we have had a wonderfully delightful session, with our honored guest, Dr. Sri Sharma, who illuminated us with all his enlightened thoughts. Thank you, all the viewers, for being with us. Thank you, sir. With folded hands, I salute you for giving your invaluable time and enlightening all of us with your erudite and intellectual vision, a prophetic vision, a foresighted vision, which is the need of the hour for the nation. We have waited for 75 years to see that actual power passes on to the people of India. But what we got, few people, and we have become the cheerleaders. That is the bane of this nation. That had been the imprecation, the curse for this nation. We have to bring power to the people. People of India should be enriched with the power. That is the message of Dr. Sri L.C. Sarmaji. That is, no, people should be empowered with a new era leadership developmental vision. Thank you, sir.